Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Looking at the oceans and sea life, some of those are snails and slugs, and some have shells. So I wanted to look at shells. The story of Seashells, a guidebook for young collectors. This was published in 1956, and it's a nice introduction. Some lovely examples of the variety of shells on the cover there. The shell world. The world of shell animals, or mollusk as they are called, is a strange new world for most of us, although they make up one of the largest groups in the animal kingdom. In order to make it easier to study so many different types of shells, scientists have grouped them into 5 main categories. These are the bivalves, meaning it has 2 shells hinged together. There are the univalves, which have just 1 shell. Now, the 2 examples of the 2 shelled bivalves are clams and oysters and scallops and mussels. Examples of univalves are snails and periwinkles and conch shells and whelks and moon shells, etc. The chitons, the shells of these animals are made up of 8 separate plates, and it can curl itself up to protect itself. The tooth shells, the shells of these animals are in the shape of a tube. And then your nautilus group, the shells in a spiral form like the univalve type, but the animal in it is closely related to the squid and octopus group. And so this book then looks at meet some bivalves and getting acquainted with univalves, and it's nicely done. Nice illustrations. A left-handed whelk there. Most univalves spiral clockwise to the right, but in the case of the left-handed whelk, it spirals to the left. This book was published more recently. It's called Slugs and Snails, and Discovering Slugs and Snails. It's by Jennifer Coldrey, Coldrey, and I thought she did just a fantastic job. Again, this breaks things up. At the back it shows, by the way, wanting to set up an aquarium to study freshwater, I suspect, slugs and snails, or land slugs and snails. Now, lovely photographs for each of the chapters, introducing slugs and snails, what slugs and snails are like, the bodies of slugs and snails. It's a great description of the radula, and it has little teeth on it, and movement and senses. More about snails, and more about slugs on land, and I guess you can guess, and the breathing hole, that the next will be in fresh water and in the sea. So it breaks it down really simply. The floaters and the swimmers in the sea, plant eaters, filter feeders, scavengers, food, carnivorous, slugs and snails. They're the vegetarians and the carnivores. Mating, eggs and young. And in the back, it mentions some other books, and one of the books it mentions is this book by Hilda Simon, Snails of Land and Sea. This is a gorgeous book, in part because of her artistic skill to portray like the miter shell or the Wental trap, very rare shell, the cone shells. They're more about them later. The murex, olive shells, and so this is. I just thought I think it's a great introduction. Shows how stages of the shell will change. It's not necessarily going to stay just in the form that it starts out. Yeah, the turret shell with this neat spiral structure. So we've got land snails, we've got freshwater snails, we've got the vegetarians, like the abalone, and a long section, and then the carnivores, a long section, and sea slugs, sea hares, and bubbles. And I just very, very well written and a joy to read. Now, there's a name in the shell world that appears frequently. I'll show you 3 examples. R. Tucker Abbott. This is How to Know American Marine Shells. So this book only looks at the shells that one will find on the coasts around the United States. This book, which he was the lead scientist on, R. Tucker Abbott, a guide to better known species, seashells of the world. So we get to look at, there are 80,000 species have shells. There's the bivalves again. There's the cephalopods, which are the chambered nautilus ones, the tusk shells, the chitons, with its 8 plated shells, so that it can sort of curl up maybe like a pill bug. And there are 600 shallow water species of it. The bivalves, there's about 10,000 species. So this is, I really like these guides, and this is extremely well done. You show the top view, the bottom view. That's really great to see in terms of identifying. Here are the olive shells, the amazing different patterns that are on them. So there's about 300 species of olive shells. And the last book is put together by Hugh and Marguerite Stick, S-T-I-X, and R. Tucker Abbott, with photographs by H. Lanshoff. And I think I might have marked something. It looks like I've marked something. I don't know for sure in here. I did, but that's not the one I want to show you. This is the one I want to show you. It's a black and white one. Most of them are in color. This is black and white. It takes the sundial and turns it over and shows the inner growth of it, that spiral growth. And architect Frank Lloyd Wright must have, or may have been, inspired by this spiral. You would take an elevator up to the top of the Guggenheim Art Gallery, get off, and walk your way down, around and around and around. And one thing leads to another. Well, thanks for joining me, and more next time. So bye for now.